what was the shift for you to go from basically broke backpacker to multi-millionaire? Take me on that journey.
I have to do it that way because my intuition tells me to do so. With two ADHD chicks, it can be wild. And we made almost $1 million with a podcast. Yeah, no, it's insane.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Fuck Conventional. Today, I have a very special guest. If you don't know her and you're from Germany, my only question is, have you been living under a rock for the last 5 years? Because today I have no one other than Elina Miller with me, and she literally revolutionized the entire German coaching industry. And I could not think of a better person to talk with me about how to create unconventional success, how to turn pain into purpose, and how to actually become unapologetic as fuck.
Yeah, sounds like me. Thank you for having me. Thank you for this beautiful, powerful introduction. And I am curious to see where this leads us.
Me too.
Never know.
We never know.
With two ADHD chicks, it can be wild.
Do you feel like you've always known that you kind of like meant for a different life?
Yes.
Yeah.
When I was a child, I was fantasizing about being on Plakate.
Okay. Like advertisements, basically.
On advertisements where you see the latest movies and then you see the advertisement of the movie. Somehow I saw myself on the advertisements and on stage. And when I was younger, but I think that was every girl's dream, to be a model. And I was watching this stupid, it should be forbidden, Germany's Next Top Model.
Oh, yeah.
And I was really close. Luckily, my parents stopped me. But also, I was not really made for that because I have really wide hips. So I don't know what I was thinking. But it was a dream, and you're 16 years old. So yeah, I was thinking that I will be a supermodel or an actress. Also, I was singing in a band in school. So yeah, this longing for the stage and to be more was always there.
Like I mentioned in the previous podcast, I heard this episode of you where you said you always felt like an alien and like you don't fit in. And I would love to hear your perspective on that. What made you feel different?
What made me feel different? Well, now I know that I have ADHD, thanks to you and to some other people. But yeah, you have a really nice framing that I enjoy so much and that resonates a lot with me. What makes me feel different? Like literally to think about the past sometimes when it's longer than like 3 years ago, it's like another lifetime. So
I feel you.
It's really hard to feel back into the person that I was. Yeah, but I always felt different. I always felt that I have bigger dreams than everyone else, that I want different things from life, that I ask different questions, and everyone was always saying, why you always ask why? Stop asking why. Even now my partner is like, stop asking why, just accept it. I'm like, no, but that's the most important part. Why people do what they do, like what led to that action? I want to know why. So I was asking a lot of questions, a lot of different questions. And yeah, dreaming. I was always dreaming really big. It was always matching my horizon. Like when I was 24, 25, my big dreams were to travel the world because that was my horizon. That was already a big dream for me. And then the further the horizon, the more I grow, the more I rise in consciousness, the higher you can see, the further you can see. So yeah, for example, I was on this backpacking trip with my girlfriends. We were like 24 and we went to Thailand for 3 weeks. First backpacking trips for all of us. And after that trip, I couldn't let go of that idea. I was like, guys, but how can you not want this feeling back? Like, how can you just go back to your jobs? And I was really suffering. I was kind of depressed for a few days and weeks after that trip because I was really feeling I got this taste of freedom, and now I'm back in this office with these yellow walls and these colleagues that are all grumpy and like what is this? I was always questioning that how can this be it?
Yeah.
Somehow I was questioning it, but somehow I was also in the system. So I was like, okay, if I don't win in the lottery or if I don't marry a rich guy, that's my life now. So I have to find the best way possible to make it enjoyable. But again, that was linked to my inner power that I was not feeling. And if you don't feel that inner power, if you don't feel that you can actually change things, you think this is your only option.
Yeah.
But still the dreamer was there. So I think that was feeling different to me. Like everyone was just accepting things how they are. And I instead was always questioning and dreaming.
I can very much relate to that. Even in school, I always got shit from my like teachers, like just do the damn thing. And I'm like, if you actually give me a good enough reason as to why I'm supposed to do it, I'm like, I'm happy to do it. And I feel like this is what most people can't handle if people actually ask you why. Because the majority of what people do,
They don't know.
Yes.
They just do, yeah.
They do it because somebody else told them to do it. And so when you come in and you start questioning their worldview, people get uncomfortable and they get pissed off. It's like you ask why so many times until the person gets to the point where I'm like, I don't even know why I'm doing it. They usually get very defensive about that because you just challenge their worldview. So I can very much relate to that. That's always been a big struggle for me as to questioning everything. But again, super neurodivergent thing of like questioning life. And I feel like this is also where the curiosity comes from of like, is there maybe a different path and a different life for us out there? Because most people don't, how do you get to that point when you don't even ask yourself the question, right? So you got to start with a question first. So when do you feel like it became so loud for you that you just couldn't ignore the feeling anymore? Was it after that backpacking trip?
It was always there, and the moment that I couldn't ignore it anymore was actually coming with my awakening. It always sounds so woo-woo, but it's like it was another life. It was a life that I started to live consciously because I started to think about more about my inner world. I was observing things on a deeper level. I was taking responsibility for a lot of things. And if you take responsibility, you take back your power. So even for the things that I am not responsible for, like my childhood, my parents, at the deep core, I believe yes, because in another realm, I chose exactly this. And second of all, if I believe that I chose everything and I'm responsible for everything, who knows if it's true or not? But this view helps me to be in my power. So, of course, I'm choosing beliefs that help me to stand in my power. And so, yeah, the more and more I was exploring different ways and also different corners within myself through podcast, like classic yoga. I started to be vegan, then like classic spiritual awakening. Yeah, I cannot eat animals anymore, and I was listening to podcasts, and the guys that I was sharing an apartment with, they were always like, "What are you listening to?" Like they were super cringed out by that, and I started to be more by myself and to have better boundaries, to explain myself less, more nature. And then I did my first trips alone. And also, like, I was back then, I was in a relationship and it was always back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then it was finally over. And that was like the biggest boom because that was the moment that I took on the biggest responsibility. I started to, instead of blaming him all the time, I started to question myself like, okay, yes, he did a few things that are not okay, but I'm also part of that. So I attracted him, I stayed, I co-created this. So what is it about me actually? Yeah, so it all started with super softy podcast listening, journaling, and I was doing the new moon ritual. That was helping me a lot. Every month at the new moon, I was writing down what I'm grateful for and what I'm wishing for my life to become real, and to have this in like inventory with yourself
Yeah.
once a month, to sit down actually and to manifest your dreams and to write them down, because when you write things down they become visible. And then I was seeing the things becoming true. I was like, okay, what the fuck, this is really working. And yeah, that's how it all started. The more power I gained, the more I could the more power I gained, the less I could accept the life that I was living.
I love the piece that you just shared, because I think it's the first key how to turn pain into purpose is the moment where you realize nothing would happen to you in your past is your fault, but it's still your responsibility how you handle it. And so many people get so stuck in that victim mentality of, I can't because this is what happened, this is what my parents did, I can't because I have ADHD, right? They use all these things as to reaffirm their old identity as to why it's not possible for them. And so this is the biggest shift, right? When you start to acknowledge, okay, maybe it wasn't fair what happened to me, but still, like, I'm a freaking adult. At some point, I got to take responsibility for that. And so I feel like once you start getting into that, and it's so funny because it was the exact same thing for me. Like, I started with veganism. That sort of like was my entry point.
Because that's just the typical, no? Like
It's definitely like, you can hear it in a lot of stories, that's for sure. So that was sort of like my first step into my self-development journey. But for me, it was really...
But maybe even important, because then you are, of course, you become lighter. Animal products make you more grounded and more heavy and more here. Maybe the veggies were helping us to raise the consciousness, to be lighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I have an answer for what happened with me, because I turned vegan after I got out of the hospital. So I was in hospital for a few weeks and I had all these random symptoms. And like I shared with you before, like I really suffered from depression and anxiety and panic attacks. And I really got to a point where it was so bad that I was like, what's the point in living when I feel like I'm just suffering? Like I was just so much absorbed in that pain. And the doctors told me all like my blood work and everything was fine. And so that was the first time where I realized, well, maybe I gotta stop outsourcing my health to like other people and actually ask myself, what is making me sick? And so I came home from the hospital, found this documentary, found out about veganism, turned vegan overnight, and literally within 3 or 4 weeks, a big part of my symptoms were gone. I stopped taking antidepressants, like cold turkey overnight, and I started to feel again. I was like, holy shit. And so I feel like that's also, these medications, I think also kind of like cap your access to a different level of consciousness.
Obviously.
So I think all of these combined together was for me the entry point in really figuring out who I am and what's making me sick and what's keeping me stuck. And so once I realized, okay, well, hang on, so cool, if I take responsibility for what's happening, maybe that works for other areas of my life too, right? And so that's when I started to backpack and realize, oh my God, like there's freedom.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? Like many people have the same journey. Yeah. First the pain kicks in, then you go inwards, then you become vegan. You do yoga. I even did a yoga teacher training.
I'm not surprised.
But again, because then I was like quitting my job, went for travels, and then my horizon was already expanded until the point that I thought, if I have a yoga teacher training, I can travel the world and work as a yoga teacher. That was the idea, but luckily, life expanded me even more. Yeah.
A lot of people stay stuck in like the lost spiritual bubble, and it's kind of like this endless search of like looking for yourself and getting lost in situationships and kind of like plant medicines and all of those things. So I'm just wondering, what was the shift for you to go from basically broke backpacker to multimillionaire? Take me on that journey.
That journey. So I have to start a little bit earlier because actually the family that I was living with, I was a live-in nanny in Australia. That was like my last station because COVID was breaking out and everyone left the country. I lost my job and I had just little money left on my account because my plan was to work as a waitress to earn money and then travel more. And then I lost my job in the restaurant, but I felt, no, I don't want to go back to Germany now. My trip hasn't ended yet. And I followed that feeling once again and guided once again. But you're always guided. You just really have to start listening. And I applied as a live-in nanny with a family. And there it all started because they had this entrepreneurial vibes and they were entrepreneurs themselves back in the days, not when I was there. And they were really supportive. So they were supporting my idea, I think, even though if they didn't really understand what I'm about to do, but they were always pushing me to go for it. And then this combination of being there in Australia during COVID, but also I felt that this cup of being free and just travel was full. Like I was feeling really purposeless.
Again, I can relate.
I can't do that another year, another 2-3 years. I can make it a lifestyle. I will make it work somehow, but it's empty because you just live for yourself. You just look after yourself, like kind of just trying to make it through and try to earn some money and then travel again. And that was a really important phase, but then the cup was full. I always explain it as the cup was full. The experience was done. I was done. This experience was integrated. I was ready to move on to the next step. And that was to build my coaching business. And they were really pushing me. And then from one day to another, I was like, okay, guys, I'm doing that step because I knew I cannot stay there and build it from Australia. That's something, even though if I have ADHD, I really know my limits. I knew I will not be able to do it there. I need focus. I need to be kind of by myself. I cannot be around kids, around a family. Also, especially in COVID, like you're home most of the time. Australia was super strict. Even like the playground was closed.
Which part were you? Because I was in
Melbourne.
Australia at that time as well. Yeah, I was in Perth. Perth was the best place to be in. Yeah. It's wild how many times our timelines actually crossed.
Here we are. Here we are. Yeah, so they were a big part of that because I think that they were really like angels. I don't know if I would have started as fast and as soon if they wouldn't be there because they really pushed me. And yeah, so I went back to Germany and then I just had this idea of starting my life coaching business somehow. I will figure it out. I don't know how yet, but let's see. I will do it. I'm committed to. And then like 2 weeks later, the first course came into my life. That was exactly what I needed. It was called All In 8 weeks from like to make a living within 8 weeks from your sold business. Something like that. I was like, wow, okay. I want to have that course. I need that course. And then I invested my last 2,500 euros into that course. And that's how it all started. And yeah, I just went all in with all my savings. I lived at a friend's apartment, couch. I had an old laptop from Australia that was having this twisted keyboard, like Australian keyboard. And I always had to be really aware what I'm typing because some letters were in a different position and was old and used, and I bought it for like $400. And even the father helped me, the father of the family, helped me to buy it. He went with me, he drove me to that house where the family sold the laptop. So they were really, really supportive. And yeah, so that's how it started. I bought the course, I went through it, I didn't do all that they were saying.
Why am I not surprised right now?
But I really felt it's not my way. Like certain things didn't feel aligned, so I just found my own way. And that was fine. I think everyone should do that. You can buy courses, and the course was great, but then pick what's good for you. Like, don't blame the coach. Just take what you need, and then the rest you can modify based on your personality disorders. Whatever it might be that you need extra care.
That was gold.
You can.
That was gold. But that's what I always say, like, you gotta start working with your brain instead of against it, and that's how you become a successful entrepreneur. And so much of what you said, and I've talked to so many successful entrepreneurs about that, is like, how did it start? And basically it's like you're betting on yourself and you are going all in literally with this course and being so committed to say, like, this is the only option for me. And I feel like that level of obsession is what you see. It's the one characteristic that you see in every successful entrepreneur.
You have to be obsessed. If you're not obsessed, you will not make it. I'm just saying it straight away. You have to be obsessed in the best way possible. Not in a way that you work yourself to the ground, but this obsession that makes you commit to something, that makes you... it's like, I call it, in German I say, it's like this so oder so Prinzip. Like, I will make it either way. There's no other way around. Like, it's this path and I'm going all in on this path. And if it doesn't work out, then I will find another solution. But I have to go all in now. Also, too, then, I was always saying that to my friends when I started traveling. I said, guys, I don't know. Like, maybe this is not for me. Maybe I come back in 2 weeks and I start again living my life in Wuppertal. But then, guys, I can sit in peace on my couch. Because before I was always, what if? And daydreaming, and maybe I should, and what if I done that? I don't want to live with what ifs. I want to try the things. If they work out, great. If they don't work out, great.
I think what it also comes down to is a lot of self-trust in knowing that you will be okay either way, because you know that you have your own back. And I feel like this is what it comes down to, like, being unapologetic, to like, no, whatever is the outcome of what I'm about to do, whatever risk I'm taking, it will be fine because I'm here with me. I've got myself. So,
but that you have to build. It can be God-given, but I was building that up step by step, like living 1 year plus by myself, traveling through India, Nepal. Like, now I don't understand how I was doing that. I really don't know how I was doing that. Getting all the visas by myself, organizing everything by myself, finding places. Like, I don't know how I did it.
It's so much more exhausting than people think. I mean, I've traveled for like 6 years, and so now looking back, it almost feels insane. Because it looks so much more glamorous than it actually feels, like living out of a suitcase the whole time. So it's interesting that you say that. But I do feel like traveling, which comes down to being by yourself, like solo traveling, is definitely a lot that builds that inner strength and that resilience for everything else. So I'm very curious though, because obviously there's 1,000,001 coaches. I mean, even though you started like earlier, now it's like obviously there's even more of us.
But that's good. I think everything has its meaning and need, kind of. Like, if you feel that this is your path, this is your path. Of course, if you make it up in your brain and you see, they're all making 10K, 20K, 50K, 100K, and you want to, like, you make it up from your mind, no. You will also not, like, you just cannot. You will make it maybe 1 year, but then you will...
People disappear. I just wanted to say that. Like, you can make it, obviously, if you're in it for the money. Sure. But if you look at the majority of people, they all disappear eventually. But my question is, like, I agree. If I truly believe that God, the universe, plans the purpose that we have in our hearts for a reason. And so this is where the obsession part comes from, because you know, like, this is all you want. Same thing for me with my business. But what I'm so curious about is everybody's chasing clients, everybody, like, you know, but you somehow showed up in the...
Somehow.
That's what I want to get into. Is like, what is a somehow? You show up and you just literally changed the entire German coaching industry.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was in the front row and I was like, what the fuck? The amount of times, and this is so funny looking back now, right? Because there were so many times I was sitting and I was like, who the fuck does she think she is?
Really?
Yeah.
You?
Yeah.
You thought that?
Yes. But the reason why I thought that is because the underlying belief was, who the hell do I think I'm not? That was what
But
you
it's
were the mirror
always-
for allowing yourself to be that which I didn't allow myself to be at the time. You make such bold moves and you just did things like nobody did them. And so I'm just wondering, what was your like thought process behind
ADHD.
It's like, yeah, okay,
I
but
think
had
people
ADHD
should
the whole time.
start taking pills to actually get ADHD. Everyone wants to be like us. That's a secret. It's what was the thought process? I got the information. I always thought that it's God speaking to me, but now that I know you, maybe it's ADHD speaking to me.
Maybe a mix of both.
I was always explaining is as like the universe or God. So that is how I had the strength or the ideas to do the moves that I did. I really felt that I had to do them and that it was something higher than me. And then there again was this detachment. I was like, I have to do it this way, no matter the result. If 2 people sign up, 2 people sign up. If 20 people sign up, 20 people. If no one signs up, that's also fine. But I have to do it this way. There is no way around it. And then I did the thing. And then the energy was high. And also the people's interest. Because if you invent something new, if you do something that nobody ever did before, that's interesting. You want to see what's going on there. So I think with these bold moves, I caught a lot of attention naturally, just by not trying, but just by following ADHD / God / universe and following what I was told to do. It sounds like I have voices in my mind. No, it's not like that. It's just really this deep inner knowing. My intuition works like that. I know things and I see things. I just know. I just feel them. And
I think that a lot of people have that, just most people don't allow themselves to act on that. I can definitely say that's true for me. Like I had these voices. Okay, I gotta be careful how I frame it, right? I had this intuition for a long time, but there was just so many blocks that were underneath it where I didn't trust my own intuition enough because I listened more to the people that told me that I'll never make it and that I'm like, inconsistent in all these things. And so I was acting, again, according to the identity that I developed based on what people told me of who I am in the past. And so I had to overcome that. And that took me many years, but it seemed like your jump from I'm deciding I go to all into like making the first million. Like what was the time frame there?
I think it was a year. Yeah. Let me think more deep, but because I was never really, because I understood really fast it's not about the numbers and I never made it about the numbers. That's another hack. Don't make it about the numbers. It will be really hard for you if you have a number focus. So when did I start? Yeah, something like a year. Yeah.
So from going all in to making $1 million in a year, that is pretty wild.
Is it? I think these days I see that everywhere. Maybe back then it was wow,
Yeah,
but these days I see it a
was...
lot. I don't know if they're lying, if it's the American market, or also making $1 million, having $1 million as
Just wanted to say that. We got to talk about the difference between
can
profit and
probably
revenue.
Make 10 million in 2026 if I just pump on ads. If I put like 8 million into ads, maybe I can make 10 in 2026. I don't know. I never did ads. So I don't know, but the potential is there. So it's really, really important that you not only look at people's numbers, but also the way how they got there, themselves. How did they get there themselves? In what way? Like, were they hustling, grinding? I don't have nothing against that, but be aware. If you don't want, there's a fabulous coach from America. She's really, really good. But I know, and she's sharing that. She's sharing that she's waking up every morning at like 4 or 5, and that she's working like a lot. I know that's not for me. So she can be incredible in her work, but I know that on a deeper level, maybe you can snack a masterclass or some courses on a specific topic. That's fine. But I would never work with someone close proximity, because I know their path will not be my path. And even though I have all the admiration for the numbers that she created and all the fame and wealth and blah, 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 but her path will not be my path. So it's really important to not only look at the numbers, look at the way how people got there. Are you willing to go the way that they walked? Like, are you able and willing to walk the same path? And really, like, are you able? I think that's really something that you have to check in with yourself. Long term, consistent, sustainable. Of course, we can do things maybe for 3 months that are out of alignment, but it will never be sustainable. And then also, you will not enjoy the numbers, because if you hustle yourself through something and you hate your life, but then you have the numbers and you don't even have the time and health to enjoy what you created. So what the fuck is that? Not for me. So, okay, again, look how people got there. Look at the resources. How many team members did they have? If you have 10 team members and for everyone there's a specific guy or woman helping you out, that makes a huge difference if you're a one-woman show or if you have a whole company of 10, 20 employees. Did the person grow through ads? Like, all that stuff, have a deeper look, and then decide again if you want to learn from that person and if this is a path you would choose for yourself. And then again, the numbers. Is this like cash in the pocket? Is this, yeah, you earned this, but then you have costs of like 80% is going away, and then at the end you maybe have even less than the cute soft girl era entrepreneurial chick that makes maybe just 5 to 10K a month, but then she has inner peace, no employees, a chill life. And I'm not saying that the one is not better than the other, but just choose wisely for yourself who you want to be.
I love everything that you just shared. Absolute gold. I recorded an entire podcast episode about that specific topic because I've learned some lessons over the years, and like also people that I invest in.
So interesting. Every time I have someone sitting here, or if I'm sitting in the studio and the person sitting there, it's like Mona. She was saying exactly kind of the same things. Yeah.
I feel like once you enter this realm, it's so easy to get carried away by the fleshy numbers. And like you said, everything that you just shared, I had to learn the hard way by investing in the wrong people.
The same for Mona. She said the same thing. You guys, it's just interesting. Yeah.
I actually took the last 9 months to find my new mentor, and I signed up a month ago, and this has already been the most transformative container because, like you said, everything that you just listed, this was the exact same process that I went through. I was like, how did I got there? I personally don't do ads. I don't do cold DMs. Like, I build a brand in authenticity and integrity. And so I'm actually just learning how much limiting beliefs I still carry from that old coaching container that I have to let go of right now.
That's bad, yeah.
And so now I'm stepping into a whole different level and version because I'm coming back to basically just, again, doing it my way.
But I'm saying that since like years. I remember I did a post 4 years ago or 3 years ago. Mit deinem Mentor wählst du auch deinen Weg. With your mentor, you're also choosing your way. Because not only if they have a team or if they do ads or all the stuff, also how are they wired? Yes.
What is their level of
and
consciousness?
what do they believe in? Because if they sit in front of you and then say, yeah, just take on 2 more clients and then you have your 10K month, like, and then you're like, yeah, but I don't really have the capacity, or this is not the way how I want to get there. And, because for them, it's like, yeah, I did it that way. And then they mentor you in that way, which is totally, it makes sense. Of course, I also have my own style, how to mentor people. And I will pass on my beliefs on to them. I believe I have really good beliefs. So I wish everyone to have my belief system.
I mean, it clearly seems to be working out for you.
So I don't mind to pass on my belief system onto people. But even still, I'm always trying to tell people, don't take everything
At face value.
What I'm saying. Like, always check in with yourself. Because also I have limiting beliefs. For sure I have, because, yeah, maybe I could have been at 10, 20, 30, 50 million right now. Who knows?
That's always what I tell my clients. Did you actually take the time to ask yourself that question? What is success to me? Because for some people, like, I have this friend here in Bali and I deeply admire him, but his only measure of success is numbers. But it's actually true and authentic to him. And that's why he's willing to grind 12, 14, 16-hour days. And so for some people that actually works, because this is what, like, with him, I genuinely believe this is what he wants. But for 99% of people, that's not the case.
It's most of the time freedom, spending time with the loved ones, being able to buy super healthy, good food, like organic, and spend time with their kids, going on vacations, being able to choose. But all of that you can reach within 10 to 20K. You can have a nice home, you can travel, you can have time with your kids.
And like you said, just because somebody makes 100, 200, whatever, doesn't mean that they actually take this money home. I actually found this video of a creator. He's like, I'm making 250 grand a month, but I actually take home like 10K. But I'm stressed out as fuck. I have a huge team. I
can coach you.
I have a huge ad spend, right? And so once you see that side of the story, there's no wrong or right way. It's just a way that is actually true to you and what is aligned to you.
Decide. You can have the 100K months in peace. You don't have to choose between 5 to 10K soft girl era life, Pilates princess, or you can have both. You can have the peace and the big
100%. I'm just saying, like, in his case, that clearly wasn't the case. So I'm just like, I just love that question of like, how do you actually define success? I feel like this is a question that everybody should ask themselves before they even start. It's like, how do I define success? Like, what is a marker? Because it's also so easy when you get so attached to the numbers. And I'm talking about experience. I've been there and I was like, oh my God, like, and then if you don't hit the numbers, like, you start to freak out.
And isn't it, from your experience, be really honest, isn't it really like that? The more attached you get, the less things are working out.
100%. Every single time you start to obsess over these things, like, things are not working. And it's so funny because, again, one thing that I always tell my clients, like, your business is an extension of you. So whatever you feel blocked or stuck, it's an internal block that you're stuck at. Can you actually give us actionable steps as to how you became so unapologetic and confident in trusting that intuition that told you to make these bold moves even when nobody was doing them? Like, for example, having like a paid podcast, these things, like having these 2-hour workshop that you hit crazy numbers. Like, what was the thought process behind?
It was really that. I think I already answered. It was, I have to do it that way. There's no way around it. And then, because I know how tricky the mind can work, and then the whatever comes in, and then you doubt, and So I'm taking the impulse that I'm getting, and I just get it out there. So I don't have a way back. That's my strategy. So if I feel this is divine, this has to be exactly like that, I get it out as soon as possible before the ego can creep in.
That is a very actionable step. I love that.
Get it out. Talk to people, speak about it on social media, say that you're gonna do that XYZ. And because you told me in my podcast 1 hour ago that I have this strong Gerechtigkeitssinn,
like sense of justice.
sense of justice. I think that's also related to, if I say I'm gonna do something, I will do it. I'm not a Dummschwätzer. I will actually do the thing. And because I know that about myself. Oh, that's another one. When you promise something to yourself, be 100% sure that you can keep it, because you are the only person in your whole life that was listening to every lie you ever told. So if you say, I'm gonna lose 10 pounds, you better lose the 10 pounds because otherwise you are rewiring your subconscious onto, whatever she says, it doesn't mean anything.
I can confirm that 1,000,000%. The amount of times, like, I don't know if you know this, I actually was 20 kilos heavier as well.
But not since I know you. I think I always known you like that.
It was before we met. When did we meet? Like 3 years ago for the first time, I think, something like that. So I was 20 kilos heavier back in the day, and it was like, I've always promised myself to like lose this weight. I always promised myself to become sober. That was a big one. The amount of times after being hungover where I promised myself, this time is gonna be the last time. I promise, like I'm done. Well, guess what? A week later, I was drunk again. And so what happens if you continuously break the promises that you make to yourself? Of course, you lack self-trust. And that also, again, reflects onto your business decisions. Having self-trust is an important part of having the boldness to make these moves, because you know it's going to be fine.
Yeah. And you can build it. You build it with the steps that you take, and then you see, okay, I'm actually capable of doing that. And then you trust a little more, and then again. And then you eventually come to that point that you just have this self-trust, and that you can trust intuition, signs, because you know all good always. Either way you will take, it will be fine. You will be fine because you have yourself.
Yeah. I'm curious, with having achieved like obviously a lot of success, however you want to define success, found yourself becoming a little bit like self-complacent or like too comfortable.
What is self-complacent?
It's basically when you become so comfortable with who you are, or like with where you at, that you no longer feel the need to, you know, create more, kind of.
Oh no, that's part of me. I will always create. And the good thing is that when I started my business, I wasn't aware that you can make huge numbers. That only entered my field a few months later, when I met a friend of mine. Like, we met through Instagram, and then we decided to go on a vacation together. And we saw each other for the first time on the airport. And we were sitting in that airplane. She was like, what's your intention for the next month? And I was like, yeah, I was sharing some business goals, but like super small. And then I said, what is your intention? I want to make 100K month. And I was like, well, I was surprised because we were kind of at the same business level. So for me, that was like, what is this crazy chick? Like, who am I flying on workation with now for a full month to Spain? What the fuck? And then I asked, okay, but how actually are you gonna create it? You're like, that's none of my business. I just have to know the what and that I want it, but I don't have to figure out the how yet. And that was the first time, like with that person, the first time that entered into my field, that people, because so far I was only on the German market, and then the American market is a whole different one. And they're all throwing around these big numbers. And with her, this portal opened, and that was good and great. And probably also because of that, I started to think differently. But when I started, my thoughts were, oh my God, if I can just make a living out of it, if I can just cover my bills, if I can just make like 2 or 3K a month, if I can just live somewhat comfortably, if I can just pay my rent, get my fridge full, maybe go on a vacation here and there. I'm so happy. I would be so happy if I can just work in my purpose, make money with that, help people, and like get a little money out of it. That was my starting point. So I never made it about the money, which was a great start, because also throughout the way, it was never about the money. So it was always just a byproduct, and the creation was always in the first place. The creation and the self-expression. I changed so many times. Like even one time,
I've been there.
I stopped business coaching, and I said, okay, I'm just going. I will just do retreats, and that, like, all of that along the way was always important, and every step was important. It was always about creating that certain thing at the certain moment through which I can express myself the best in that moment. So I don't think that it will stop. Who knows? But so far, I'm not thinking about stopping. I also don't think that I got super comfortable. I have to admit, in the beginning, I was willing to do more things. Like, you get comfortable. You are like, you raise your standards, let's say.
Sure.
You raise your standards. You are not willing to do certain things anymore. You're not willing to work under a certain hour rate anymore. It's just what it is. Like, I'm not going to coach people for 200 euros an hour. Probably you wouldn't do the same. So things change, but I wouldn't say that I'm comfortable in a way that, oh, okay, now I have my money, my investments, my passive income. Now I will just lay at the beach and do nothing. That's not why I started. And also, that cup is full from traveling. So I know already that the answer is not there. And the only times that I feel blissful these days, it's not the, like, the only times that I feel blissful is only coming through connection and creation. When I have these bliss moments, the God zone moments, the moments where time, space is one, is through connection and creation. That's the only way how I can get this really deep, blissful happiness. And of course, like, with loved ones, with my son, like last week we were laughing so much. It was a real belly laugh. It was so good. Like, he was making a joke and it was bad time, and I just couldn't hold it. We were laughing for like 5 minutes straight. And yeah, so no, I'm not stopping.
What it comes down to is having spent some time traveling and like doing nothing, because again, this is where the part where I really relate to. I did this for like a year after I left my corporate job. I sold my like fancy BMW where, and I was living off that car for like a year, drinking coconuts in a hangout like in freaking Bali and Thailand and
But
whatever.
you cannot do that here anymore. I don't understand why people say Bali is so cheap. Like, not the Bali that I live. The Bali that I live in is not cheap at all.
Especially like accommodation, for sure. If you want to have a nice villa now, like,
put some cash on the table.
Yes, I agree. But yeah, back in the day, it was a little bit more easy and affordable, especially, if you had no income source, which what I had at the time. But after 1 year with, like you said, it's like basically just living for me. There was no bigger purpose. There was nothing. I started to get depressed again because I realized it's not just doing something that you don't want to do, but basically if you have no outlet for creativity, for purpose, if you're only here to serve yourself, that's when I feel most disconnected. And so the moment, like whenever also I'm stuck in my business, I'm like, every single time I have a block, I literally, like, as soon as I go out of a client call and I see their transformation, I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I'm doing it. And so it's having the sense of purpose and the sense of creativity and expression. I feel like the reason why so many people are so depressed is because they consume way more than they create.
And it will get worse and worse. And I also feel that, like, ChatGPT leaves you more empty. Social media leaves you more empty if you don't use it consciously. if you don't use it consciously, all the dating apps, social media, all the helpers, all the AI helpers, it will all leave you with less, actually. They package it as, oh, you're gaining. No, you're gaining fucking nothing. You're losing your brain, you're losing your creativity. And I wish everyone to live 1 year in a hammock and of coconuts. And I wish everyone $1 million to just show that this is not, the answers are not there.
Yeah.
When people say to me, I just want to be free and live on the beach and do whatever I want, I'm like, no, you don't. Like, that's
you
what
need
you
to
think.
experience that in order to realize that this is not what you want. And that's the thing, as long as you're still in the rat race, you put these things on a pedestal. And I had to be there in order to realize that this is not what makes me happy.
No, it's good. It's also good that they feel that. And that's why every feeling at a certain time is valuable. Because it leads you...
listen to it.
If you listen to it. And it leads you to the next step and the next step and the next step. But if you never listen to it... Also, imagine your intuition is somewhere up there in the clouds, sitting next to God, vibing, and it sends you impulses, but you never follow them. Why should it send you more? Like, it sends you all the signs, impulses, synchronicities, but you're not taking them in, you're not acting accordingly. So why should your soul send you more if you cannot even handle what you have now? I always say you have all the resources that you need at that time. At that time, when I was a broke backpacker coming back to Germany to start my business, these last 2,500 euros on my bank account were exactly what I needed to buy the course. Because also abundance, that's another one. I was always feeling very abundant, even though I had nothing. And what we feel, we attract. What we are, we attract. And even if I had nothing, I was also saying to my friends when they were going out for dinner, I couldn't always go with them because I didn't have the money. I was saving up everything and I was working on my business. And for me, that was not a lack. That was not, I cannot afford a 20-euro dinner. I don't have the time. My friends are all out. I was loving that. I was loving this phase, even being like that broke and not even having an apartment, no car. That was the only fuck up.
No car.
Public transportation.
Oh my God,
fucking
yes.
Busfahren. No. Schwebebahn. Oh no. In Wuppertal we have the Schwebebahn. It's like a train that goes in the air. Sounds fun, but
I don't think I've ever been on one. I'm not sure.
Again, sounds fun until you did the experience. And then when it becomes your public transportation day by day, it's not that exciting anymore. Then it's just a fucking Schwebebahn. Yeah, that was the only time that I felt poor. I felt poor and broke sitting in the bus. That was like really uncomfortable. But I think mostly because of the vibes, because of the people.
Oh my God, yes.
Maybe if you
the
sit
frequencies.
maybe if you sit in the bus that, you know, like
full with entrepreneurs, you would have the time of your life. You would love to drive a freaking bus for sure. It definitely has to do with the people. But one of the favorite things that I heard you say, like back in the day, don't ask me when, was like, you cannot lack your way into abundance. You don't attract what you want, you attract who you are, right? So one other question, now knowing that you were like a little nurse spicy and figuring out, you know, being very impulsive, you know, making impulsive decisions in business, whatever, how much do you think of your success might actually be attributed to being ADHD, neurodivergent?
100%. What is that question even? Because it's me, no? Yeah. So it's me. So it's 100% credits to neurospiciness.
That 100% sponsored by neurospiciness.
Yeah. But yeah, because I never used it against me. I always used it for me. And as I told you before, I always felt really privileged and even in advantage to others. I really felt that I actually can do more in a way that is more needed maybe, or efficient, or but definitely not disabled.
Yeah. It really hurts me to see that it's still such, like, it has so much negative association, still, the word.
Not after our 2 episodes.
I mean,
I
that's what
think
we do
everyone
this for,
will
right?
write it in the Instagram bio. Yes. Neurospicy since 1994. Always been, still am. Like, I think we will change a lot.
And that's why I am so eager to have this podcast, because again, I know so many incredibly successful entrepreneurs who are all neurodivergent. And so I really just want to brainwash people into thinking that it is a freaking superpower. And honestly, that is what it comes down to. You're brainwashing yourself. So the moment I found out that I have ADHD, I started to consume all this content, and it's about, you can't do this and you can't do that. And I'm like, why would I be watching that? Why would I program my mind to believe that I cannot do certain things because my brain is wired that way? And so I refused to make that my reality. And I was like, okay, let me brainwash myself into making my ADHD brain my absolute superpower, how I can make it my superpower in business. And just the more people I talk to, and the more I'm like, oh yeah, they're spicy as well. Oh yeah, they're an entrepreneur as well. The more it also just affirms that belief. And that's why I want to have as many unconventional people in this podcast to really brainwash the masses into finally seeing it for the gift that it actually is. And what I shared with you in the other episode was, I actually think that is a different frequency and that we're operating, because we're highly sensitive, we're like super empathic, we can read energies. There's oftentimes people that are also highly gifted. And so all of these come together. Of course, you make a great entrepreneur.
I agree. What can I say? I super agree. And at the same time, I think everyone is special in their own way. Like, we're making now a lot of jokes. Oh, we're better, we're spicy, we're this, we take advantage. But at the end of the day, it's always you accepting and loving yourself. And the more you love yourself, the more successful you become. Success and ease is really linked to self-love. You really have to love yourself to let it in, to receive, to not self-sabotage. So for everyone, it's the same. If you're neurospicy or not, it's really accepting yourself and working with what you have. Maybe you have nothing. Maybe you're just normal, quote unquote, society, normal.
I don't think this person would listen to my podcast, but yes.
Or whatever it is that you are not, work with what you have. Yeah. Love what you have been given. Trust that you are exactly right as you are, and that you are needed as you are. And then you also don't have to compare with anyone else anymore.
I don't think there's a wrong or right way. And like I said before, we need to have both parts in society as well. Like, if you only have visionaries, nothing would ever get done. Exactly. So you need to have the people who have the crazy ideas, but you also need people to execute on that. And so again, I think that it's absolutely divine to have both sides, because you need both sides in order to have a functioning world, as much as our world is functioning, but that's a whole different conversation.
That would be a funny world with only visionaries.
Just imagine, like, only people like,
oh, here, what? Yeah.
Like, how,
who knows?
How would that work?
I don't know, but I think that everything will always work out somehow. I made an entire episode about that like a year ago, because people always say, but not everyone can live their dream. I believe that's not true. You can, because but who's going to do the trash? And who's going to serve you food in your fancy Bali restaurant? And who's going to clean your house? And people, I think I call it solidaritätsarm. It's like when you don't go for your dreams because you think other people cannot. What the fuck is that? Like, how are you contributing to anything in this world if you don't live your dreams, because someone else, in your perception, with the beliefs that you have, with the reality that you put onto them, cannot in your world.
I love that it's the two of us having this conversation, because I said it in your podcast. One of the reasons why I'm sitting here is because you even opened the door for me to think that there is a different world out there. So by you being your most unapologetic self and you going after your dream, you don't just give yourself permission to live your dream, but you also empower other people to go for their dream. And so it's this butterfly effect. It started with you. Now I'm giving it to my clients and to the people that listen to this podcast. And so the more you allow yourself to express yourself fully, to live fully, to dare to be wild and big and loud and out there, your people are waiting for you, but they cannot find you until you start owning who you are. And that's what it all comes down to: accepting yourself for either being different or being normal. It doesn't matter, but accepting yourself for and trusting that God, the universe, made you the way it made you, because you're here for this purpose and this reason, and to trust that this purpose has been planted in your heart for a reason.
Amen.
Amen. I think that's the perfect way to end the podcast.
It is.
Okay, where can people find you?
People can find me on Instagram. I think that's the only, that's the only platform I use. You can find me on Instagram on elina.miller. And then I had to choose this weird underscore because so many people, somehow there's a lot of Elina Millers out there on Instagram. And yeah, that's how people can find me. My content is mostly in German, but I know that some people are still
a big part of my community is German as well.
Are still around and they still enjoy. Like even at Axel's book launch party, a woman came and was like, "Oh, I love your content so much." And I was like, "But you don't even understand." She was like, I still love it. I was like,
I give it like a month or two, and then like you have automatic translation on stories and stuff as well. You already have it in your feed, so that shouldn't be an issue. Do you have any like big thing coming up soon that you feel like sharing? Is there any launch that you have, like a new program?
So yeah, I have a secret, big, my biggest project yet ever coming up in like 2 or 3 weeks. We're launching. And at the moment, I just have my podcast.
That is paid. How much do you have to pay for a podcast?
80 euros.
So well,
why are you laughing?
Because everybody's desperate to get listeners on a podcast, and she has the audacity to charge $80.
And that's exactly how you do it.
Yeah.
And you know that I was not strategizing it. I wanted to do a podcast. I was thinking, it doesn't feel aligned to make it for free. It's a lot of work. It doesn't feel good. I don't want to do it for free. Let me charge. So I was like, okay, guys, I will launch a podcast, but it will be, there will be a price tag. And that's exactly how you kind of, how to say, like that was another impulse that was just feeling good to me. And I was saying to my team, if it's one listener, because everyone is like, fuck off, like there are a million free podcasts out there, why should I pay for yours? Then it's like that. But I have to do it that way because my intuition tells me to do so. And now I'm running the podcast since almost 3 years, and we made almost $1 million with a podcast. You know, it's insane. Yeah, but here to pave the way and to be the permission slip. And I was like, after that, so many other people started their paid podcast as well.
But even from a consumer perspective, I actually think that you do people a service if you charge for things, because we all know that we consume free content and we don't implement anything because we don't put the price tag on it. What happens also with coaching, the more expensive the coaching is, the more you're gonna, you know, if you really feel like I'm putting my ass on the line.
I wouldn't say so.
I'm not saying in terms of like the number that you pay for the coaching, but if it feels like a stretch for you. Yeah. If you feel like you put a lot on stake, so this could be 100 euros for you, or this could be 100,000 euros for you. I just feel like the perception of you feeling like, oh my God, I really need to commit to this. I in my experience, creates always better results.
Yeah.
So it's not about the number itself, it's about the feeling that you attach to the number, that you are more committed. And whatever you pay for, you're more committed.
No, but that's exactly the reason. I was saying that's also why I'm not doing Black Friday since like 5 years. I've never done Black Friday, probably never will, who knows. I'm a huge fan of giving bonuses. Yeah. Like of overflow, of abundance, giving people some extras, but not discounting your work until like what, 80-70%. Like everyone can choose for themselves, but I don't believe that this is how you build legacy. And so I also priced the podcast, not only because it felt good for me, also because I wanted to promote conscious consumption.
Yes.
And people will never ever receive my messages as deep as they do now, because they actually really chose to listen. And maybe they even just listen to my podcast because then they stay with one person instead of hopping from one to another, and then they get more confused. But Jess is saying to do it that way, but Elina is saying to do it that way, and Laura is saying to do it this way. So what way should I go now? And if you really choose for one person that aligns with you, you're also giving yourself the chance to be more open and to really receive the codes, the messages, the information, and to actually change, to do the steps. Because every month you're like, okay, I'm paying for this. I'm consciously choosing to listen to that. And so I believe that my podcast is helping more than it would if it would be for free. And also it puts me in the position, like, since 3 years, I'm recording every week at least one podcast episode. If the podcast wouldn't be paid and I wouldn't have this commitment from people that giving me their energy, I probably would also slack here and there, you know, like how it happens when it's for free. Now I don't feel like it, or I'm not inspired. And that also really brings me to bring everything inside this container that is there. Because I think if I wouldn't have this commitment, a lot of information, a lot of codes wouldn't be there. So I'm doing a huge service to everyone.
You get so confused if you listen to 100 different people. I almost unfollowed everybody. I have one business mentor now, and this is a person that I respect on like mental, physical, spiritual level. And this is the person that I learned from. And so instead of being so confused with all this information, choose a few people, and then actually, instead of like Alex Hormozi calls it mental masturbation. So so basically always consuming but never implementing. So I hope that you actually had some action steps that you can take for yourself of this podcast that you can implement for yourself. So it wasn't just another nice little dopamine kick.
Please no.
Is there any last nugget or wisdom that you want to share to end this, even though Mosquito could talk with you for hours?
I think everything that wanted to come out was there, because now it's really blank. So I think it's complete.
Thank you so much for...
Thank you for inviting me.
My absolute pleasure. And again, thanks for paving the way. Also the way.
We're in Uluwatu.
Thanks for paving the way for all of us.
With pleasure.